I'm Debbie Roy. Welcome to Success in Art, Inspire and Be Inspired. Today we have a wonderful guest, Denise Marie, who is the creator and head fairy at Fairytale Access, which is a local public access channel dedicated to children. And want to tell me the mission and kind of a better explanation of what the channel is?
Okay. We're committed to unraveling fairy tales in real time rather than once upon a time. So whether we're interviewing somebody at Shriners Hospital and a young child who may have received care there, we're unraveling how fairy tales happen in your life every day. It's not just the stories that you read. We really believe that life is a fairy tale. So we try to show that aspect of people that we interview, and then travel destinations. We try to include that and the people that we meet along the way.
And the show is geared toward children
and their families.
And their families and inspiring them toward leadership and education and...
Right. We typically promote literacy, travel, and asking more questions. I don't think that young people can ever ask enough questions.
I love that, because I think most people are saying, oh, stop asking questions, you ask too many questions. And I love that you're empowering them to ask those questions and find answers to the questions.
Absolutely. And they're out there. You just have to look.
Yes, and in unexpected ways usually.
Absolutely. And asking questions can lead to different discoveries, new places. And by doing fairy tale accessible destinations and discovering, either a small town in New Hampshire or Egypt, which is just released, we open the door so that you can understand, young people can understand that they're exactly alike. In my recent trip to Egypt, we showed the kids are reading the exact same thing, but the folk tales and the legends and their history reflect that. They're probably how all of our stories were created.
And let's talk about that. So you recently went to Egypt and filmed the show in Egypt, which is, wow.
I know, it was
very
crazy.
Inspiring.
I was invited by an advertising firm there to try it, and I was, really? Because it was through social media, so they were great. They mailed me every kind of identifying piece of information. And then, I was like, well, if you don't take a chance, I'm never going to know. I can always get a hotel when I go there and find something to do.
Yeah.
So,
but you found some really interesting things to do. I loved, and I did see part of the show, and I love how you interact with the children. I was blown away because the children in Egypt don't just learn math and science. They were learning big jet engine repair.
I know, it was an amazing school. Every story has a hero, and our hero in Egypt on this particular trip was Dr. Muhammad Osman, who runs the Harvard Egypt College for K through 12. It offers everything from aeronautics to the medical field, and they have every piece of equipment that you would see in a hospital and other places, dental labs. They even simulate small operations.
And these are K through 12 kids, so high school kids that are being like doctor procedures.
And they have doctors that come in and teach the children. So I had I think she was 9, the girl that blood typed my cameraman. So they set up the equipment, the doctors go over the results, their techniques in finding the results. But I think introducing young people to all of these different career options, whether it's small engine repair or automotive or shop or, exciting things like flying a plane. You get in there and you try it and you repeat it at different levels. And then in high school you decide where you really want to go. But if you have that earlier experience, because I think everybody, I know everybody dreams of flying.
Yeah, or the flight sim. I was blown away because, like I said, these are young kids. These aren't the high school or the trade school or college graduate. These are young kids that are experiencing with these real life trades.
Absolutely. They practice EKGs and blood pressure and all of that. But it's the interaction and understanding the equipment that you're responsible for, that this is a human being that you're responsible for. And understanding those things at a young age you know, maybe when you grow up, you don't want to be responsible for people. So you may grow up going to school, doing all of the basics in chemistry and not having that interaction with people and actually seeing blood and all the precautions that you have to take. That might be the turnoff, and you're already a year into, you know, medical school.
I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of money going through 4 years of school, and then they come out and decide, oh, that's not for me. And like I said, I'm just blown away that they were doing this. And I think, like you said, it's very inspiring.
Right, and they have sports, and they pray together in the morning. They exercise in the morning together to really get a good start.
The whole school?
The whole school.
That's a great role model, so I can definitely see. And that's, again, going back to the purpose of the show, is to show other alternative ways in real time.
Right, and other alternative ways in education, and you know, that you can inspire young people to do more and find, you know, their role in life.
And I loved how they empowered the children. I think sometimes in our society, in our school system, it's like, oh, well, you can't do that yet, or that's above your, you know, and here they're empowering, you can do all of these things, you can learn and grow and choose what fits you best and respect. And I think we're missing that sometimes here.
Right, and this school is just amazing. It's 5 stories, beautifully structured, and one man built it in the last 7 years, and it's just amazing. So he did, this is a man who went out and was an engineer in the world and did extremely well and came back to give back to the community he came from.
So is this a specialized school? Is this like a role model, like a charter school here, or are they, what is the rest of the education
It could be
system?
looked at like a charter school. It is private. And there are other schools. English is part of the curriculum. They also have French. So these are young people that, you know, can go out and experience the world and interact with a larger part of the world. And with social media and being online, that's so important. You need to speak more than one language.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you should learn how to use Google Translate. And just a tip with Arabic, you have to, so if you wanted to say, you know, how are you, how's your day going, you type that out in English. You look at it in Arabic, and then you translate it back to see how it mixed it up.
Yeah.
So then you can look at it and start to learn the language. That way, it really helps you pick it up quicker.
Yeah. And then you also went into people's homes, they invited into your homes, and their children were teaching you the language.
Exactly.
Like I said, I really enjoyed your interaction and how you treat young people, everyone the same, with the same respect and the same dignity. And I think, again, that sometimes doesn't happen all the time. But
children are great. They'll tell you everything. And I think people just forget.
Or they don't
ask.
listen.
Right.
They turn that off. Oh, that's just chatter. Go sit. You know, children have amazing creativity, intelligence, imagination.
Well, I think that comes through in this particular video because of the drawings that Habiba showed us. And they're, you know, they're typical to what she sees around her, just as children here would draw. But I think the impact is that here, we're not going to see people in a tank and military, you know, and that's one of the drawings that she had.
Yeah, what's going on in the culture.
Right, what's going on in the country. So you can see where your differences are there, but I think as you go through it, you see more similarities than you do differences. You know, as they first meet me, they're so sweet and, yes, good, you did a good job. You know, teaching me Arabic, and at the end they're hysterical, like she's just not getting it.
That would be me.
It's a very hard language, but they're just adorable, and you know, they just really warm up to you. And in the classrooms, the kids talked in English, and they really wanted to tell me about what they were reading and what they were studying in school.
Yeah,
and that was great. And that's fairy, you know, everybody wants to.
Well, you're the head fairy. So in this show, this Egypt show, you interacted with children in their schools, you interacted in the household, you went to some of the Great Pyramids and some of the attractions. Right. Sounds like you had quite the adventure.
It's a great adventure.
Yeah, and some of your other shows that your topic, I've looked at some of the shows you've done. You've done topics on leadership and like artistic specialties like face painting and.
Oh, yeah. Autism, we have one show that's great. It's a combination of autism and bullying, because that group of people often is misunderstood, and so they can be bullied. But we had a mermaid come in, Mermaid Giovanna.
I saw that one. She was beautiful.
She was. She was amazing. The girls thought she was real. She is real. So my co-hosts are usually 8 years old, 9 years old. We've had 12, 14, any age. So they can come in and they tell me what they're interested in, and we go out and find it. So whether we send them to the Sea Science Museum to tell us what's going on there, or a baseball game, if it's boys or girls, whatever their interests are, we'll make it happen.
And again, I go back to empowering young people, because you're not telling them, you're not leading the shows. I saw many shows that the children are actually asking the questions and hosting and asking the questions of the guests and showing them around.
Absolutely. So we bring them in, we show them how everything's set up. We might sit through an interview together just to give them a feel for it, but they come back. We have a young girl, Camilla, she's now 9. She was the one who just did the face painting.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, learning to ask questions. I let them write it on a cue card so they remember. But I'm like, you know, just go and look at face painting as a job, or go and look at autism, and this is the page, this is what it's about, and sit with your parents and talk about it, and then come up with some questions for our guests. And because some of them come in character, you know, the questions will be about their story.
Well, you did Mr. and Mrs. Claus, I think I saw.
We did, because another reporter, Cassandra, wanted to find out what they did all year.
That's a good question.
I know. So they came in and they brought pictures of things they do all year.
So the children really have a big part in this show, and you're empowering them, you're teaching them skills.
Absolutely, and I let them design how the show is going to go. I give them an opening, I give them a close, and I give them I give them 3 to 5 suggestions of questions to start them off, and then the rest is all up to them. And they do take the time to look into it, especially the ones that enjoy it and want to come back. And some just want to try something different. So they'll try it, and it might not be for them, but.
And we have the same thing here. Some people like to be in front of the camera. Some people like to be running the cameras behind the scenes, or switching. So there's always a skill and a place for it.
Absolutely.
So where do you find your children? Because like I said, these are kids that you're training.
They find me. Yeah. I just, well, I've done the Fairytale Festival in Nashua. I did that for 6 years, and the last 2 years I left in 2013. So on that stage, I would have anywhere between 120 and 150 actors, singers, and dancers for 3 hours in every age range and skill level. So I had a young man who was nonverbal with cerebral palsy, and he wanted to have a part in the show. So in between, there's a quest. They have to go out and find out what 5 of the people in the field are known for. What are the businesses known for? Because I have over 45 businesses providing free activities when I do an event. And then they come back, they drop it in a chalice on stage with their answer. Then we have other children come up and choose the answers. So they get to show off their reading skills and read, you know, a couple of sentences about wherever. Say it was the Funland or one of those Santa's Village up north. Whoever gave us the raffle prize, they'll read a segment about that company and then congratulate the winner.
Oh, cool.
And then for showing off the reading skills, we had worked with Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A would give them a coupon that congratulated them on their reading skills and gave them a free lunch.
So that's a great way to incorporate business community involvement and the kids in a nice manner. That's not just advertising, and it's not just activities. They're actually incorporating both together.
Absolutely.
Very creative. Yeah.
So they can, you know, they just get a feel for it, and they get the feel for on stage. So one of the young girls, Cassandra, was on that stage once, and she's like, I want Fairytale access. And I was like, really? What do you want Fairytale access to? And she's like, I want to be a reporter like you on television. I'm like, I can do that.
So was that the inspiration for your show?
No, actually, the show started before that. It was the last couple of years. This is our third year, and I think our fourth season. No, I went in for an interview with somebody, and the station manager asked me if I'd be interested in doing a show. And since I was doing fairy tales, I was like, oh, yeah. And then we just came up with Fairytale Access. But I've been doing shows since I got out of high school. I used to do them for the Hukila restaurant in Massachusetts. They had a dinner theater that I think seats about 500, or it did at the time. So we did one for the Lions Club. You know, and I was really young. I mean, I'm the girl who did plays in my backyard and charged my neighbors to come.
So it was like meant to be.
Right. So I had about 60 of my friends in that show. We raised a lot of money for the Lions Club, and the owner of the restaurant called me in the back room. And he was like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, great. Someone broke something. No. So I went back, and he just helped me start my business and, you know, set it up so that I would do a different nonprofit every month, a different show for a nonprofit to raise money on a Sunday afternoon. So then I had about a couple hundred people volunteering, and we'd have open auditions so people could come in and out when they were in town. And then Secure Horizons, Tufts Health Plan for Seniors, called me a few years after I'd started doing that and asked me to write a marketing one for seniors. And I was like, okay. And they're like, we really want the big bands order. And I'm like, it's really starting to sound alike. So I gave them the 20s to the 90s, a celebration of American movie history, covering all of the eras during their lifetime and highlighting it with different shows or musical numbers that happened in those decades.
And this was geared towards seniors. So
basically,
basically,
it was geared, yeah. And the catch was that everybody had to be a senior, over 60.
So
Right.
it sounds like people give you a challenge, and you meet and exceed the challenge. So they say, "Oh, I want to do a boring, 50s band," and that's been done. So you really come up with creative solutions. And I guess can you explain better what you do?
I do community and legal research. I went to school for law, and I just decided I didn't want to be an attorney. But I love law. I love the logic. I love the creative thinking that goes behind it, and the challenge is, to really listen to what's going on around you. Mm-hmm. And I like to put that into the material that I work with, so that young people are, learning to ask more questions, to listen to what other people are saying, and to question that. So you'll see in interviews, even with the mermaid said something about going down a street, and Camilla was like, "There's streets
in the ocean."
In the ocean, and she explained how the ocean is set up, but. So they keep asking more questions, and they learn how to interact with the world around them and really understand things.
So you use the skills that you developed as a lawyer, mm-hmm. even though you weren't practicing law, you're still using the skills you developed for listening and engaging and empowering. You organize these festivals, and it sounds like you bring talent and businesses and community together. Right. For the benefit of all. And I think you told me in your fairy festival in Nashua, you had over 5,000 participants?
Yeah, over 5,500 people came.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was small when I first started it, and then I network with a lot of different people. So whether it's magazines or businesses, I show them how to talk to people. You're coming to a fairy tale festival. I don't want politicians here. Sorry. Unless you're buying balloons or you're helping to provide books, because I gave away free books to the children. So each event, we gave away over 2,500 books.
Wow. So you're teaching businesses to interact with the community in a positive way. Right. Not just take, but to give.
We didn't allow selling, but I want you to promote your business, and I want you to do an activity with the kids. I won't charge you to be there. I just want you to do an activity with the kids and talk to the families as they come through. And just remember, kids rule. So make it engaging, or they're not coming to your table.
Yeah, don't bring a table with just some free stuff on it, because that's not
right. They want, whether it's coloring a bookmark or getting the pieces to put together a project, That's the type of thing. And it really drove businesses together. They had several of them tracked it. They had up to a 27.5% increase in July after the event, because we showed them how to do typical marketing,
well,
like
it's
a bounce back.
engagement. It's social engagement.
Right, and if you give a coupon to come back to your store, this is how you track it. And a lot of stores, believe it or not, just don't do that.
So you have a lot of expertise in social marketing and social engagement, obviously promotion. So what advice would you give someone who wants to set up a festival or an event, or an artist who wants to get the word out there? What advice would you give them for using social media?
For social media, it's a little different with each one. With Facebook, you want any business that follows you, unless they're completely something that you wouldn't do business with, you want to follow them back. You will gain followers anyway, but you want to keep your content specific to what's going on. So with me, it's children, families, different things going on in the world. You want to set up an analytics feed so that you have the most current events.
So without getting too specific, I think you're trying to say be reciprocal. Don't just expect people to come to your site and don't sell to them.
No, I don't think you have to sell to them. You have to engage, and you have to find out what they're interested in so that you can make your product or your service better. So if I'm highlighting an event, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can about it and give them the contact number so they don't have to search the internet for it.
Yeah.
And then they'll give me feedback about how the event went, what they thought went right, what went wrong, and those people are also following, so they get the feedback. Where they may not have been engaging on their site that way because that's not something that they typically do, it would be something that they sometimes do.
Yeah, a lot of businesses don't know how to use social media properly, or don't know how to engage.
And when you're on Twitter, everybody wants to be a leader. A leader isn't about how many people are following you. A leader is somebody who engages with the people that are following and follows other like-minded people. So you want to follow all the people that take the time to follow you. There was something that caught their interest. Yeah. And you look through your feeds once in a while, at least once in a while. I look through several times a week, and if there's something relevant to what we're working on, or that promotes fairy tales, or just living a great life, we'll retweet. So destinations, whatever, but we retweet our followers. It's not always about coming up with fresh content, and we've been doing it for Twitter for probably 3 years, and we have over 25,000 followers.
Because you're engaging, you're
so
reciprocating, you're engaging, you're being a human.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, treat people on the internet like you treat them in person. If someone calls you, you call them back.
Right. If they comment, you should respond or thank them.
And that's a great way to think about it. And people just don't.
No,
they think of the internet as anonymous, or as a point to like.
Right, or they get a lot. The big thing on Twitter right now is that they get a lot of followers, and then they start unfollowing.
Oh.
Right, so that they look like they have a lot of followers, and they're not following anybody
because it's the ratio of how many people you follow to how many people follow you.
Right, and it's like, but you don't need anybody to get to there.
You do. So the biggest lesson, I think, in your show and in your business is really to treat people as human beings and treat them as you want to be treated.
Exactly.
And then everyone wins.
Exactly. And we try to show how that unfolds.
So you have a lot of background. So you have a law background. You work with children. How did you get involved working with children? You have such a knack with them. And we're going to show some segments from some of your shows to give people an example of what this is like.
I hope you'll air some.
and yes, we will air some on Derry Community Television too. So stay tuned for Derry Community Television to watch some of the Fairytale Access shows. But I just want to talk about, so what is your background with children? How do you? I mean, it takes someone special to be able to engage with children the way you do.
Well, I grew up with my parents were really nice. My dad was he was a ward of the state, so he was a foster child. He grew up with a wonderful woman from Sweden, and to repay her for everything that, you know, happened to him in his life because of it, we took in foster children. So I grew up with 13 different foster children over the years. And it's just learning how to get along with a lot of different personalities at different times, because sometimes there'd be 6 of us, other times there'd be 5 of us, you know, or I think 6 was the max. But sometimes they stayed for a little while, and sometimes, you know, most of the time, hopefully they went back home and, you know, everything worked out fine.
Yeah.
You know, just growing up, my parents just really instilled reading and asking questions, because everybody was asking questions, you know, and they always tried to give us direct answers. My dad was a teacher. My mom later was a teacher's aide, but she was a full-time stay-at-home mom. So, you know, we did all the kid things. You know, we had parties, we had pizza parties. My friends remember sleepovers and making pizza, like rolling out pizza. Just all that crazy fun stuff, cooking. And then the only thing I wanted to do, because I read so much, you know, even if I read just any book, but, you know, one of the books I read when I was young had Zanzibar in it.
Yeah.
And it's a city in Oman.
Okay, yeah.
And I just always wanted to go there. I just loved the name.
Zanzibar. Yes.
Zanzibar. Yeah.
So that next possible destination?
That is the next possible destination. We're working on it. Either that or Lower Egypt. I'd also like to really look into Alexandria and Cleopatra's territory.
So it sounds like you had an amazing childhood that really instilled a diversity and asking and answering and research, and that you're using all those skills in real life. And teaching people to do that too, teaching children how to ask questions and that it's okay. You know?
Well, I don't think the schools do it enough. I think the criteria for school is so, Common Core now?
Yeah.
You know, it's not common. Children are not common. They don't fit into a pre-molded package. That's the great thing about the school in Egypt, was that these classes are under 20. These children get individual attention. So you'll look at the classes and they're not all the same age. Some may be, you know, better at it and excel faster. Yeah. And they're not held back.
And I find if you challenge a child to achieve a goal, they'll find a way to do it. Exactly. Whereas if you just kind of go as the lowest common denominator, no one wins. And so I think there's a different just way of thinking there.
Every single person has a role that they're supposed to play in life. And sometimes you just have to give them the tools to find it.
So what would you say your role is? I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff. So what would you, if you put in your own words, what is your role in life?
To travel, promote literacy, to engage the world in getting to know others better. It's not only what you hear in the media. It was shocking, unfortunately, you know, coming back, that so many people had misconceptions about what the countries are really about there. Yeah. Everything doesn't center around terrorist groups. They're not walking the streets everywhere you go. Egypt is very safe. Yeah. I felt safer there than New York and some parts of Boston, but it's just a wonderful experience. The history is so rich. You know, and there's so many ways that you can look at it. You could be into the history. You could question why these pyramids keep popping up all over the world, and what's the connection?
There's a lot of mystery and adventure in Egypt. I've always wanted to go too.
But there's mystery and adventure everywhere in the world. I mean, my last trip to Mount Vernon, I literally had to go to Purgatory to end the story.
Yeah. Okay, in one of your shows, so that's to be seen.
Yes.
So,
and it's a real place.
And that's part of an attitude, just to find adventure in everyday life. And I love that you do that. So just to recap, so Fairytale Access you've run it about 4 years.
3.
3 or 4 years? Okay,
3
where do
years,
you want to take it? Where do you want to go?
I think we want to do more fairy tale accessible destinations and bring them back in a different type of travel show so that you can see how people engage, how children engage, you know, and you can meet different children. Like we met a young man who was 15 who works in Giza, you know, and I asked him about school and he's like, school? I'm making money, you know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's your choices, but he also speaks 5 languages. So, you know, he's just as smart as the young person that's going to be a pilot.
So just,
I mean, being a linguist is difficult.
Yeah.
You know, and being in sales and talking to different people all the time, that takes drive, that takes determination, that takes guts. You know, it's hard to talk to people sometimes. Yeah. But just showing all the varying differences and that, you know, everything's okay.
And if you take time to look beyond the initial, someone's exterior, you'll find a lot more there, it sounds like, you know.
Absolutely. And I think that as we move through the film, I think people forget about the exterior and they enjoy the ride.
Yeah. All about enjoying the ride. So we've covered a lot here. You have a very fascinating life. I want to go on an adventure with you. It's you have such a great message. You're working with young people. You're empowering lives. Is there anything that we didn't cover that? Well, where do people watch your show? We're going to show some episodes here in Derry.
Okay, people watch the show on, it initially airs on Access Nashua, then we release it through Teleview and Peg Media nationwide. We also have some stations in other areas that pick it up.
So your community access channel, like 23 here in Derry, so you're going through the communities to show your shows and share your message.
Right. We just wanted to give them some great programming for young people because we didn't see a lot there. The process for going through the community access system over the public broadcasting system is a little easier. It's not, well, it's just not a 6-month waiting period. Yeah. We follow the same guidelines. We're really meticulous about the material that we put in, the credits and things like that. So we will spend time in editing to make sure that we didn't forget anybody. Where else? Oh, and we'll put it on the net after we've given the community access channels a chance to air it.
Well, that was my next question. Do you have a website or online site where somebody can see some of your shows?
Yes.
You want to give that?
Fairytale Access. Its YouTube channel is Fairytale Access. We also have Blogspot, which is Fairytale Access. Twitter, our handle is @DMVC Results. And it's also can be found by Fairytale Access.
So just everything Google is Fairytale Access.
Everything's Fairytale accessible. That's what we try to show. That, you know, yes, life has bumps in the road, but it's just amazing. I mean, and we try to find that connection in everybody. So whether it's a lawyer who's come on to talk about, you know, bankruptcy and, you know, the other options, the myths and misconceptions. Or we have, you know, somebody who repairs dolls. And she showed us dolls that she repaired in a fire. They were amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so she showed us the doll. That part's a little bit scary when you see the dolls that were burned.
But I have an old doll that looks scary.
Oh, she's fantastic. But she really, you know, she showed us how she meticulously got into it. And the reason why she got into it, you know, what made you go this way? Well,
that's what I love about your show, because it's deeper than just what the profession is. It's like, what is the passion underneath on driving the profession? How do you interact with children, with people, with your community? Because you're very big about community.
Right, and you know, dolls and stuffed animals are really important to kids.
Yeah,
you know,
those memories are made there. There's a lot tied in those dolls and stuff.
I mean, especially when they're young and they carry them with them. And I know I saved my Penelope.
I had a blanket. I had a safety blanket when I was a kid.
Did you save it?
They left it. No, they left it in Maryland, and I cried all the way home for like 4 hours. So we're wrapping up. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you so much for asking me so many questions, and I really appreciate being here.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. I think you have a wonderful mission, and I hope you continue it. So all of Denise's information will be available at the end of the show, so stay tuned to learn more about Fairytale Access. Thank you for joining Success in Art, Inspire and Be Inspired. If you have a story you'd like to share, please contact me at Derry Community Television, and have a great day.